I remember the day that the church name changed. Can we talk about that? Do you want to go there?
Yeah, talk real briefly about that, because I want you to end up talking about how you've responded to COVID and the incredible things that are happening, because there's a lot of people that are a little nervous about using technology. And I mean, you're hyper using technology. It's wonderful. But do talk a little bit about the name change, because I think some people don't understand that. I
Yeah.
think it's a God thing. I'm thrilled that you did it, thrilled at the way that you did it. I felt honored in our conversation that day at Starbucks. Let's just take us into that a bit.
Yeah. I never would have. If there was anybody that was cut Hope Chapel blood, it was me and Lisa. Lisa and I considered ourselves spiritual sons and daughters of yours before I even knew the terminology. Nobody gave language to it because we didn't come from that stream. We just felt like we were Hope Chapel, Ralph and Ruby, and this was who we were. We wrote the name in Hawaii, and I remember that I had a dream for my conference. It was one of my first conferences, and I woke up and I couldn't believe it. I looked at Lisa. I said, "You're not gonna believe this." I said, I had a dream that we changed our name, and Lisa was more loyal to you than I was. I was loyal to you, but Lisa was like Ralph's daughter, and she goes, "No, we're not changing the name." I said, "Relax, girl. Okay, I'm just saying I had a dream." She goes, "No, we're not changing the name." I'm like, "All right, we're not changing the name." Well, I walk into the building, and a guy comes up to me who's a friend of mine. He looks at the name of the church, and he's walking into the conference, and he goes, "I gotta talk to you." I go, "What?" He goes, "I just heard the Holy Spirit say that the name is different from the vision. It's just different." I'm like, "Oh, don't say anything to anybody." I said, "Don't say anything, because if this gets out, I don't want to ruffle feathers. No, I got a conference to run." I go, "But thank you." The conference is done. The speaker says, "We're having lunch," and he's like, "You ever thought about changing your name?" I go, "Nope, nope, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it." He goes, "No, I'm just wondering because how many Hope Chapels you guys got in Hawaii?" I said, "We got a lot." He goes, "Is there a problem if you move into another city that's already got a Hope Chapel?" I said, "I've already had a problem." He goes, "Well, you might want to consider it." I'm like, "Okay." Because I had a problem going into another town, and the guy was upset with me. And then 2 years later, I shrug it off. And then finally a consultant comes to me and he goes, "I love everything that you do." He goes, "I just want to ask you, have you ever considered changing your name?" I go, "Who talked to you? Did one of my staff talk to you?" He goes, "No, nobody talked to me about it." I go, "Why? Tell me why." Because I was tired of hearing it, Ralph. And he goes, "Because I Google you, Hope Chapel, Hope Chapel, Hawaii. You don't even come up on page 1, Mike. Your church doesn't even show up on Google on page 1. You're on page 3. I go, New Hope Chapel. You're not even on the screen." I'm like, "Okay, now we got a problem. People are having a hard time finding us, and I want to be the first church they look for on this side." And so that's where I seriously began thinking, we need a new name, and the Lord gave us a name. And I remember that I needed to talk to you, and I didn't want to talk to you because I didn't know if I would hurt, your feelings. I didn't want anybody to see this as rebellion, because I was already hybrid chapel anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked you to coffee, and I brought Lisa because Lisa's the secret weapon. And I brought her because I didn't know how you were going to take it. And I just said, "Ralph, I had a dream. I want to change the name. I want to honor you. If you say no, I won't do it. And it's okay." And then you stopped me and you said, "Stop. You go, change the name." You leaned in like you do, change the name. Nothing would make me prouder than to give birth to a movement. I go, "Ralph, I'm not a movement yet. But so far." He goes, "Nope, you will be." You said, "Churches plant churches and movements plant movements. And you're going to be a movement one day." And I walked out feeling so validated that this new name, Inspire, was more than a brand. It wasn't a brand. I didn't realize it was Greek. It's theos pneuma, the breath of God. Shows up all over the Old Testament and New Testament. And that's why we named our church Inspire. And that's what you did. And the name has helped us so much globally with the relationships that we have. I never thought I'd be in green rooms I've been in, preaching on platforms I never thought I'd ever be invited to. And then having the footprint globally that we have through the pandemic that we want to talk about.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us, I mean, you guys are in, I remember going on your website, trying to show somebody else. And here I see service times. I think you run like 4 services a weekend. It's really one sermon. I saw service times in Sydney and Tokyo and London and Dubai and all this. And I think now it looks like 24 time zones. Talk about that. And I don't normally ask for numbers, but give us numbers. You're touching a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, first of all, God has been amazing in this process. I have an incredible team. We are only here because of the team. And then at the same time, we stand on the shoulders of giants. So when COVID hit, I already saw it coming in Asia. And I saw a couple of pastors who are my friends in Singapore and in Jakarta. And they were already on the cutting edge, the leading edge of everything. And I started reading all of their stuff. And then I called a guy named Ashley Evans, who pastors in Atlanta, who's got a massive church organization in Australia. And I just started picking everybody's brains. And I told my staff, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Get ready to flip the switch, get ready to flip it. And so what happened was we decided that, remember Tom, you made us read Thomas Friedman, The World is Flat, my last year that I was with you.
Yeah.
And so true. We decided that we would go for it, that we've got this, when Elijah was dying, he called in the king and he told the king, grab the arrows on the side of my bed. He goes, okay, take the arrows, strike it. Okay, take that arrow and shoot it. And he goes, if you struck it more than 3 times, you would have had victory. Now you're only going to defeat them once. If you shot your arrow more accurately rather than haphazardly, you would have hit your target. I'm basically paraphrasing. And we decided that we would strike the arrow hard and often. And so we believed that there were parts of the world that needed the message because the pandemic was the worst. So we went into Italy and we made it available in Italy and Portugal and Spain, that they were getting hit very, very hard. We did it in Great Britain, but Great Britain cooled off quite quickly. We went to 24 time zones. Then recently, in 6 months, we've shrunk it to what was the best time zones. Like everybody spiked. We went to 50 to 60,000 people online in the first 3 weekends. We don't care how long they were engaging. We were just excited that somebody found us. I wasn't going to let any cold water get thrown on my numbers. I just like, hey, we're doing it. Yeah, how long they engage? I don't care. Let's keep their engagement the best that we can. And so we've changed. We've learned from other people. And then, of course, it dipped before Easter. Easter, boom, back up to 50, 60,000. Excited about that. And of course, just like your summer numbers, and people are getting comfortable as countries opened up and cities opened up, and people were able to do what they wanted to do. And then we dropped down. We ended up hovering at about 25,000 now. So I just got done talking to a friend who's a consultant who works with churches just our size, or if not, and bigger. And I know these churches he works with. And he goes, Mike, there are churches that have actually gone all the way back to their previous engagement. He goes, you guys have actually held the largest engagement we've seen. So I'm making my numbers public. So we've got 20 to 25,000 people. But the good news is, Ralph, 10,000 of those people are in Hawaii. 10,000 are engaged online in Hawaii. So 15,000 global and 10,000 local. So we're also starting Zoom groups or connect groups in different parts of the world. We're just going to do it. And people are church hopping technically now, and that's fine. So if they're listening to Stephen Furtick and they're listening to Craig Rochelle and they listen to me, I'm fine. I'm fine if they get in somewhere else. But people are loyal. I know where their loyalty is. At the end of the day, you and I are doing their funerals, right? You and I are marrying their children and baptizing their babies. So that's what's been happening.
So tell us one last thing. We just got a couple minutes, but if I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, man, I want to do this, but you've kind of zeroed in now on some places in the world that are hot spots. So just tell us one place, maybe Italy, someplace, and then what do you do to connect with those people locally so that it's not just anybody in Antarctica can watch this thing, but it's somebody in this location. How are you making yourself available to those people?
Well, the chat rooms are always open. And I think the engagement on the chat room, all of our staff is now assigned to put 80% of our work effort into our online audience and 20% into our physical. Because we're only getting back an average of 25% of our average weekend attendance, it doesn't require 100% effort. It requires 20% of your best effort. So we put 20% there, and we put our staff 80% to the online audience. The online audience now is being engaged by staff members, but we also have people who serve, we call them on our dream team, and they serve for us in different parts of the United States because they still consider Inspire their home. Because of the pandemic, it's been hard to find a local church. So now they're still engaged with us, and they're running in North Carolina, in Georgia, in California. They're running, they're manning the time zones while Hawaii is sleeping.
Wow.
While the staff is sleeping, we wake up, we take the next shift. And so even on Sunday, that's prime time. And on Saturday is our prime time. And our last service is at 9 p.m. on Sunday night. First one is at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning. And so that's how we've done it. So we've done it through Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, even TikTok, and we're until that gets taken away. And then we're even doing, of course, the traditional church online platform that Craig Rochelle created.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's really exciting.
The hotspots, you said that right now we find a hotspot is West Africa. And the West Africans speak more English, and they are engaging. So we started a Zoom group there. I just found out on Wednesday. So we're looking forward to see how that, oh, by the way, on our local, on Wednesday nights, Ralph, I take the message because it's only 25 minutes. And the 25-minute message that I preach online, we still go pretty deep for most churches. But then on Wednesday, I take one point and I call it Deep Dive Wednesday. And I take that one point and I exegete that, and I spend another 20 to 25 minutes on that. And we get 700 to 1,000 IP addresses that are watching on Wednesday nights. So an IP address could represent 2 people, could represent 4. It's like a car that pulls into your parking lot, right? You don't know if it's got 1 person or it's got a family van full of 6 people. So we don't know. We just count the IP address. So 700 to 1,000, and some of those are connect groups that they use that and who connect on Wednesday nights on Zoom. And some of it is just people who are just getting fed on our Deep Dive Wednesday.
Wow, that's really good. Thank you so much. No, you know what? I meet all these guys in Exponential, and I try to, be a hero maker. So I put them up on the podcast, and all of a sudden I realized, man, I've been doing this for 6 or 8 months, and I haven't got a single Hope Chapel person in there. And so I got him Jimmy Calhoun for 3 weeks, Zach Nazarian. I'm going to have you in there. I'm going to actually, I think, put my daughter in there. She preached last Sunday and she ripped.
Wow.
And so I want the exponential guys to have to pay attention a little bit more. And when they meet our guys, then it's more than, meeting Ralph and kind of take for granted. He's the old guy who used to do it. Now let's meet the fruit and see where it goes. And I think that it's going to be, it is powerful. And I just thank you for our lifetime of friendship and for all that you folks mean to Ruby and I. And but thanks for taking time to do this. I know you're pretty busy.
Ralph, it's an honor. I appreciate the time that you gave me. I think you're gonna have to splice this into 2. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm honored to be your spiritual son. Paul said you don't have you only have one father. You may have a lot of different people putting input into your life, but you really only have one father, and you're my spiritual father. Lisa and I are grateful for you. We are who we are because of you and Ruby. I hope we make you proud. We're going to continue to make you proud. And I thank Jesus that I got saved in your church and that you discipled me. It's been the best years of my life.
Thank you. You're a blessing. Man, this is going to go for 2 or 3.